Welcome back, everybody, especially to those who managed to survive the last episode of this, as I know that one was a marathon. In the in between time, I did replace the motor mount. That went in quite nicely, and I think perhaps one of the most importantly, uh, I got the front link tuned perfectly. It was a 4 millimeter turnbuckle in there, and I got that thing tuned perfectly, and then made a Delrin upper, and now the front angle is perfect. I found new, more suitable rod ends for the steering link in the front. I went to an all Blitz titanium link, so I have nearly identical link lengths for panhard and steering link, and they are almost the exact same angle. So bump steer should hopefully be minimized. I I had mentioned in the previous one that this one was hopefully going to be addressing the shocks. I am going to pull them all apart. First, I'm going to remove them all, and then I'm going to pull them all apart. Hopefully, not too many drive shafts come apart. We will see. As I think these were the first set of aftermarket shocks that I bought, and I have no recollection whatsoever of what oil went in them or what spring configuration is in there. So I want to get them all pulled apart. I'm thinking it's probably going to be around 40 weight. Well, I think I have but see, I don't know. When I was buying oil at that time, I have a couple new bottles of Losi, and they're really light stuff. I like to generally stick. I would prefer to run more holes in the piston and heavier weight oil, because that oil has less of a tendency to try to go where it's not supposed to be. So if I can get these, that's the dry one. If I can get all of them built back to essentially where they are now in terms of rebound, but as I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the last, mostly sure that these have 2 springs each. I mean, you'll see in a minute when I take them apart if you've never experienced desert lizards. They'll have a short spring and a long spring. That's how you set them up for. I think that's the droop configuration. I'll look and see if the latest package has the little desert lizard sheet. They usually always do. But as I learned from when I was tweaking these on Daphne the Sport, I run them upside down, and in Jolly Green's case, it's not a weight thing. It's nothing like that. It's the fact that, and I will show you if I can ever get this link, the rod end turn, there it goes. Very finicky. Oh, I still don't have it. Okay. So, the way the top mount of the shock goes is the eyelet is integrated into the body, and it has this little special shouldered ball, and it fits in one way just like that. And you'll notice it's perfectly flushed out on the front there. So you have to run a flathead screw to allow the shock to pivot on the ball. That's pretty difficult to do up top unless I turned on the lathe some sort of special little cone washers. Then I could run these things that way. But then I even think, yeah, see, the body's kind of too big to fit in there because these towers are designed around the GTS, Trex's GTS shocks, which are very slender and have a very slender top. So I run these upside down. Now the way they are configured now is to be run quote unquote conventionally. Let's get that out of the way. At least in my recollection. So what that means, if I'm recalling correctly, let's see how the oil's looking. Yeah. So we've got a little guy there, and then grab my old-timey drain station. It's now I got to dirty up some tweezers. Then it runs this big guy, but equally soft under the piston like that, which is fine, but that is the setup for running it this way, and I run them this way. So realistically, I need to do it the other way. But I think, methinks, how this is going to work, because we've got 6 wheels touching the ground, is I am going to pull these apart. Oh, I don't need a spinner. I'm going to pull them all apart. I'm not going to mess with the pistons. Try to make sure they're at least a little clean before I push everything apart. I'm going to pull these apart. So there's that little guy. I think without the spring in there, the conventional way. All right. If we put just a long, soft, and then close that up, what that does is limit travel. You get about that much, and then it won't travel down all the way. What that will also do, so when the rig would sit on it, I feel like it's too much rebound. That might actually work for the shock in the front. Yeah, that oil's pretty heavy because it really holds on to that spring in there. So what if I just try just the little guy? So then when the rig is sitting down on it, see, now we can get almost all the way collapsed, and it'll extend all the way out. I think that's how I'm going to do the rears. The other option is you set them up in aggressively drooped. I'm going to take these and brake cleaner them out, etc. The other option is you put the big spring in between the piston and the body, so that when it's sitting at regular height, like it'll collapse all the way down, basically, and it wants to pull itself down. So that limits the amount of droop, but you can still get full down travel, but no, you can get full up travel, but slightly less down travel. So I don't know. Like you can see that one with the dual spring setup, you can get to right there, and this guy will go all the way down. So this setup enables the rig to sit lower, and I think sitting lower is probably where I want to be. But it's I don't know. Part of me wants to go droop setup like this with the long spring in between because, well, compression, let's call that compression setup as it's limiting the droop slightly. As I don't think it needs that much droop. Yet another option is basically the way it was inverted. So then little spring under the piston, big spring above the piston. Oh, that actually, you've got almost full travel, little bit of limit in the droop, but it wants to pull it. That actually feels really good. With how little oil is in there, it's so smooth. All right, so yeah, I was definitely not running anything as heavy as 40 weight. If that is the smoothness of feel with virtually no oil. So you just got to bear witness to a real-time operation of my thought process. I am going to pull all of these apart. I'm going to clean them all out. I'm going to make sure all the seals look okay because I've bought a couple sets of these. So, like, yeah, I got seals, and that's not all of it. I pretty much just run the light springs. So there's tons of springs here. Here is the aforementioned sheet, what they call droop setup. So I'm going to be doing droop setup this way. So big spring there and small spring there. And they're like, droop setup, spring hard. I can't imagine, like, maybe if you've got cantilevers on there, I cannot imagine a situation where you would need hard springs in these because the hards are hard. This is the spring that's in there, and there's a hard one. Like, that's amazing. Yeah, I guess if you were gonna run cantilevers and get rid of your towers, I could kind of see this because force multiplier, you need a pretty stiff spring to make those work. So I'm not gonna make anyone sit through the mundanity of pulling these all apart, cleaning them all out, flipping the springs around, loading them back up with. We're gonna go with purely chosen at random because I have a sealed bottle of it, associated 35 weight. 35 weight seems like a nice middle ground. I feel like I've got Losi in 15 and 20. I've got all the shock weights from 10 to 80. And in there in the middle there, I've got them in 2.5 increments because, used to tune stuff to go fast, and stuff like that can make a difference. With these, the oil is either too heavy or it's too light. And after that, also independent of the camera, I do believe I am going to refoam these. I'm going to pull those hunks. I'm just not 100% sure what to refoam them with. I have the foams in the new ones, so I'm kind of trying to dig through the stock here, as I think the foams from these, where did they go? They're in someone else's. I'm pretty sure they're in the growlers. They're in the Pitbull growlers. So I have some foams that are pretty close because I have those two. Optimally, what I would just like is 2 more, as I would like to have it would be awfully nice to have the rear 4 have all the same foams. Problem is, like these little wide, fluffy cut ones, they're a little softer than this, which I think is going to be okay because there's 4 wheels back there. I appear to only have 2 of those. I don't know how that happened. I've got these two stages that I don't know where these came from. I don't I honestly don't remember what tires these are out of. Um, they look like they would stuff in there reasonably well. They have a very soft outer, but the inner is, I think, firm enough. I do indeed have four of those. And after digging around for another couple minutes, I found some Crazy Crawler laser foams, which let us see. I don't remember what tires I bought these for either. So they are, as far as I'm concerned, they are technically fair game. That feels maybe too soft because they have that, that star pattern. So yeah, they're a little more firm than the OE foam, and the diameter is exactly the same except for the star cutout. Yeah, I don't know. That's once I get through the shocks, but I think if just for now, these are reasonably easy to assemble and disassemble. I think I'll go with these dual stages, whatever they're from. These should contour out reasonably. Just try with this one. Let's see how much of a stuff it is to get it in there. That's got a pretty. That's laying down pretty well. I mean, I don't have the wheels to mount them, obviously. UPS will get here eventually. That I don't know now. That's but again, I don't think I should be using the hand squeeze test here. The width feels good, but with four wheels on the ground, because I got to remember that's the rear end. Uh, that softness might be where I need to be because I need to go. The suspension in this needs to go really soft. So I'm just going to do that. I have it on hand. So these dual stage will go in the rears, and we'll put these crazy crawlers in the front. And I'll do that, and I'll do this, and then I'll get it put back together, and we'll throw a little weight on top of it and see how it looks. I mean, this thing can't move until UPS shows up with that rear diff cover. So, yeah. So I got this to do. And then we'll go from there. There we have them. 6 Desert Lizards, freshly built. Took about a third of a bottle of shock oil. And I contemplated exhibiting my method for how I build them. But my method is, in my own estimation, imperfect at best. And I go through a lot of paper towels. I'll give you a rough overview. But again, I don't know if this is something I would recommend, as it basically requires 3 hands to do it. This is my third hand here. What I do is I put a body in here. Let's use a clean one. I put a body in here, and of course it's not assembled yet. Imagine that it's not assembled yet. I drop the short spring in, fill the body up with the oil weight of choice, which today is 35 weight. Let that settle for a few seconds. Insert the cartridge with shaft section down in. Turn it down until the threads are about Oh, did I mention? There's the line of the threads inside. I go about 1/8 of an inch below that line. Then I dial this down to where it's just above the seal. Cycle this down, and a whole bunch of shock oil is going to splooge out. But it's not the total amount. So then what I do is I carefully pull this up to not all the way out, but about 3/4 of the way out. While this isn't tight, remove it from the vise, turn it over on a paper towel, and go squish. And the remainder of oil will generally splooge out, and I'll have it like built the way I want. It should be able to cycle all the way down. That's the mechanical limit. Then we got that little pop back. So all of them should be the same length. Okay, they should sometimes give it a little cycle. They are all very, very close. Like I say, at best, it is an imperfect system. And then it is tradition around here to give a little simple green bath to the shocks, because they will have silicone all over them. And even if you can't specifically perceive it the first time you take it out and run it in the dust, boy howdy. So as I went lazy fashion and built all of these shocks exactly the same, fully acknowledging that there's a different amount of weight on each shock, not to mention each shock pair, and I probably should have built fronts, middles, and rears as where we are in this process. I don't know. I kind of stumble upon oil weights, really, because unlike go fast stuff, shock oil weight in a crawler is primarily to control body roll. Like we're all running at least in the neighborhood of the lightest possible springs, because you don't jump these. I have years and years and years of tuning suspension based around the compromise of it needs to handle and take corners and all that, but it also needs to be able to survive jumps that effectively want to blow the vehicle apart. So when that isn't a consideration, I mean, we see all sorts of, there are guys that don't run spring cups. There are, you name it. I love a Desert Lizard. I don't think that they're the most overrated shock out there. No offense to those with deep pockets, but I am appalled by things like Chronics and Proline Power Strokes, and I mean the BDS Chronic shock is the ceramic bottom bracket. The cycling equivalent of the ceramic bottom bracket is putting $90 a pair shocks on a rock crawler, when most of the time we're doing 3 miles an hour and not going off any jumps. If you want to buy them just because you think they're gorgeous, that's great. I am a firm believer that needs the want often takes precedent over the need. Because at the end of the day, this is grown-ups with toys. We don't need any of it. So I do this because I want to. What I don't want to do is buy $90 pairs of crawler shocks, which is why I'm such a fan of the Desert Lizard at $50 a set. When you start getting into you get into a 6x, I couldn't recall a time as I was assembling these where I've ever had to put 6 shocks together at once. Like, I've done 2 sets for 2 different trucks before, but I was never a monster truck guy, really. I had a Stampede, but that's not a monster truck. A Clodbuster or a USA 1 or something like that. That's a monster truck. So 6 shocks at once. This was a whole new thing. Boy, the more you get in there, it gets much easier to install them. I think, and it's caught in that nether space between not wanting to spend money, but also wanting things. The wants, they come to the forefront again. I don't want to spend the money, but I feel like at some point, this is going to have to be addressed. That Traxxas servo seems to do just fine. But if we get to a point where this rig is running one of that, I grabbed a 22. If this rig gets to the point where it's running 1 micro servo, I think I can justify putting in an AGFRC or something. The full sorting of the bins has proven to be exceptionally helpful. It's probably the most productive thing I've done this week, and I haven't finished printing out the labels, but what it does is show me, like, if there isn't a label, I still know what it says. 16s, 18s, 20s, 22s, these are 24s to 30s, just like up there. So I think I need some 20s. M3x20 flat, I have 2. I don't know why I have so few 20s, because Traxxas use a lot of them. I don't need 10s, I don't need 12s, I don't need 14s, I could use some 16s. But it really points out in graphic detail what I have used up. I just noticed we have the stainless holdout there. I think that guy is I think he used to be a bottom kingpin. Amazon bits. Right around the time I got this guy, when he was still a Defender, I was like, let's throw a ton of weight on there. And it was the whole thing. C-hubs, inners, portal covers, the whole deal for like $60. And if you've ever priced up like what the Yeah Racing set costs, or Trial, or any of them, I'm not explicitly cheap. I don't even know if I classify as thrifty, but I think I could sense, even early on, there's another 22. So I'm out of 20s. So 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, and 122. But that bin is empty. It has no more 20s in it. I will have to dig around. I'm sure there's another bin full of uncounted, unsorted screws. So I will get to that. But oh man, yeah, we gotta do something real quick. Get the old Brecknell out there. Oh, where's my foamy? This. Throw a guess. in the comments below. What do people think this thing is going to come out to weigh? Uh, it's 6 pounds 4 with no wheels, tires, bumpers, body, battery. Half of it, over half of it isn't there. Uh, it feels so heavy. Like, it feels like it weighs more than the whole Jolly Green did when he was fully built. And it's not even close. I mean, if we put 4 hunks on it, and this body and this battery, 8 pounds 12, and it still needs another set of, well, all right. Just there's the tires up there. Okay, it was 9 pounds 2. So I'll throw my guess in the ring, even though it shouldn't count, as I'm building it, and I do have some small amount of control over the final weight. Over 13. I'm gonna go on record. 13 pounds plus. The wheels should be here anytime, according to the FedEx My Shipments. So I think what I will do is take a pause here. Not that anyone will ever know, as time on the internet doesn't exist. But I will take a break here for the moment, and the next time you see this, we'll have 6 of these, and we shouldn't have any crawlers, because I'm going to unmount those and change the foams. They worked so good for Jolly Green, but it's going to be heavy, but it's not going to be heavy enough to need a foam that firm. Like, that feels way too soft, but I got to remember, it's a whole different paradigm. We've got 6 tires touching the ground, 50% more tires. So the foams need to be somewhere around 50% softer. Thanks to the good folks at the UPS, actually getting the wheels here on the day that they said they were going to get them here. Et voila. These are indeed remounted with these softer foams, which in the hand feel impossibly soft. And I don't know if that's because these are so firm, but these feel absurdly soft. But then on the rig, because there's 4 wheels right next to each other, not so much. As you can already tell by the amount of exposed shock shaft, same, and then a little bit less there. The front, there's basically no rear weight. Is that bump steer? Yeah, a little bit of bump steer. It should not be a problem. Everything feels good. Suspension feels good. The foams feel good. I think I got all the shocks full-ish. Nothing is binding. Everything looks good. I have my Traxxas bits came, so I have more balls. I think there's 1 or 2 hollow balls in there that I'm not sure are 7mm. And then I've got some new ends to go through and replace some of the particularly beat up ones. So we're now getting real close to like this is running gear now. So it's about getting body fitment. I am still genuinely considering just making a cab out of this. And then someone in the comments mentioned a wood bed. And when that comment came through, it was very similar to the feeling I had when someone said, oh, why don't you just buy another axle and make Jolly Green a 6x6? Why had I never thought of that? Like, I was trying to think, how am I going to do some sort of cage, or how I'm going to do this, or how I'm going to do that? No, I am going to make a wooden bed for that because I've got wood and I know how to work with it. It will probably require me to change this part because I would like to get like, so what's forming in my head is a flat bed down the center, some arches over for like a little wheel well looking thing, then 2 decks on the sides. I haven't decided on material because I haven't really looked through what I have. I would like to do a hardwood if I have enough, like get some. I used to have a bunch of basswood. I cut a lot of it up. I should still have some maple. Who knows? It can be whatever. But whenever that part with that diff cover shows up, this thing is going to run. I can't remember. There might be another couple little bits that need to be addressed. I need to order some more fasteners from McMaster. I need to start addressing electronics. That will be probably sorted out before the next part. The next part I genuinely hope to be like diff covers showed up and now I can take it out and give it a proper test, because like I say, that like, but you note it, like, look how soft that is on top, but because there's so many, it barely pooches out down at the bottom, and those foams are not a perfect fit in those tires. Those feel excellent. So it's there in the back of my head, the idea that it might be another $30 going into this thing, because 2 more sets of those crazy crawler foams would probably be perfect. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm trying to buy stuff before I've driven it to see if it works. Like, I just want to see it work. Cosmetics will come after. So I don't know how it will come out in the edit, but hopefully this is a little more brief than the previous entrance. I got a lot done off camera, which I think is fine, because rebuilding shocks and mounting tires, if someone wants to see that, I don't know who it is. It's just the same stuff over and over. And I've already, it's already flown out of my brain. I can't remember, but like the reviews of this particular, the SSD clone, like they're all over the place. So when I bought my first set, I was like, well, I hope they work. Like, these are some of the easiest rims to mount, and that's even with how soft and squishy, sticky J-Concepts greens are when they come out of the package. These livened up a little bit with some simple green. I tried to clean them up a little bit, but and they're starting to relax. They still had a bunch of the crawler look even pulled off of the rims, and 2 of the rims on the tires that look most like crawlers, there was a lot of dirt inside. So that, well, I can't get my head around, because the bead never broke and they never tried to come loose. But like I had to blow it out with the compressor. There was so much dirt inside those tires. So there is where it sits. Hopefully sooner rather than later, this thing is going to get to go, because I really want to see it go. And it looks too clean. Like, I know I put some new pieces on it, but aside from these 2 guys, which are still really scratched up, and how beat up the brass is in the front end, this thing looks new. So, still at like 8 pounds, but it feels like 20. So I genuinely hope everybody tunes in for the next one, because in that one, this thing's going to move. In the meantime, keep throwing out ideas for bodies for me. I've been trying everything. I have this Injora hard body that ran on Daphne the Sport for about 20 minutes, and I was like, I don't know, I could use the cab of it, but the cab, there'd be a lot of fabrication for this one. It's also exceptionally heavy. I was thinking about ordering a creep cab to give it a little. I think that would sit, an ecto shell would sit about there. I was thinking about getting a creep cab and test fitting it. Obviously, there would be no side skirts. And if I don't like the fitment on here, I can paint it up and make Daphne into a half cab, because the creep that's on there is pretty well beat. So there's a possibility. I mean, I could just repaint the old ecto shell on the outside, do the same technique, cut it, just make a cab out of it. I mean, it's a possibility. I could maybe, I don't know if it's within my abilities to fabricate some front fenders, but I can't rule it out. So some stuff to mull over. And again, because I keep bouncing around, I sincerely thank everyone for watching. I hope you tune in for the next one, because I know some folks want to see it move as much as I do. Leave a comment below. Drop a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't. Tune in for the next one, etc., etc. And have a good one, everybody.